All religions oppose the Buddha because the Buddha was unique. If the entire world had accepted the Buddha's teachings, the shops of religion would have shut down. Temples and mosques would have all closed. Then who would fight in the name of religion? Priests, clerics, and ascetics would have starved to death. That is why the Buddha was not accepted. Priests, clerics, and ascetics filled people's minds with so much poison that no one was even allowed to know that a person like the Buddha could exist. Parents told their children not to even go near the air the Buddha breathed. They were formally bound by oaths, because who could trust children? Children are simple, innocent. They might say yes now and set out an hour later. And there was also this fear that in forbidding something, the children might be drawn toward it, precisely because their parents had forbidden it. There must be something special there. Children are children. They have their own logic. Often they go just because it is forbidden. That's why they must have been made to swear oaths. They must have been told, if you go to the Buddha, we will die. Swear by your mother? Swear by your father? And they must have sworn. They are small children. You can make them do anything. They are completely dependent on you. Even if you kill them, they will offer their necks. What else can they do? Their life and death are in your hands. The human race has committed no greater atrocity than it has on children. When all atrocities are wiped from this world, the last remaining atrocity will be the one committed by parents on their children. And that atrocity is not even visible because we have built a huge facade in the name of love. We say we do everything out of love. Beat a child, out of love. Scold a child, out of love. Teach something, out of love. Therefore, the child can neither refuse nor rebel. First, the poor rebelled against the rich. Then no one thought that one day women would stand up against men. Now women have stood up. Even today, no one can imagine that one day sons and children will rebel against their parents. I tell you, beware. That day is coming, and it will come very soon. It has to come. The day children stand up against their parents, it will become clear how great an injustice humanity has inflicted upon children since time immemorial. But this atrocity is such that innocent children cannot even rebel against it. They don't even know what is right and what is wrong. Their trust in you is so deep, their faith so simple, that you can impose whatever you want on them. Make them Hindu, Muslim, Christian, whatever you think is right. Because a child is still very tender. A child is like clay. You can mold it as you wish. And once it is molded, once it hardens into a shape, it becomes very difficult to break that mold. When the mold becomes strong, you say, now go wherever you want. You are completely free. But by then, breaking that mold has become almost impossible. When it is a small plant, you can bend it wherever you want. But when that same plant becomes a big tree, bending it becomes very difficult. And if it has hardened into the wrong mold, that very mistake becomes the story of its entire life. That is why they made children swear oaths. One day some children were playing outside Jetavana, where the Buddha was staying. The children were absorbed in their play. The noon hour must have approached. The sun must have grown strong. They must have become thirsty. Home was far. Playing around Jetavana, on the outskirts of the village, thirst overcame them. They forgot the promises given to their parents and religious elders, and in search of water, entered Jetavana, thinking there might be water here. Where the Buddha stays, where the Buddha's monks stay, there must be water. And by coincidence, they came face to face with the Buddha himself. The Buddha must have been sitting under his tree right in front. The Lord gave them water to drink, and gave them much more besides. If the Buddha gives water, he inevitably gives something else along with it. This does not happen by effort. Water touched by the Buddha's hand carries a little news of Buddhahood. If the Buddha's eyes fall upon you, something within begins to stir. If the Buddha looks into your eyes, some seed within you begins to sprout. The Buddha gave much more to drink. He gave love too. The Buddha's entire being is love. The Buddha says the pinnacle of meditation manifests as compassion. When meditation becomes complete, the light of compassion spreads. The lamp of meditation burns, and the light of compassion radiates all around. This is the test of meditation. When meditation is true, love spreads. Compassion spreads. These small children came thirsty. They were given water, but they were given much more. They were given Buddhahood. When you go to the Buddhas, they have nothing to give except Buddhahood. They don't have trivial things. They only have the greatest thing. They can only give what they themselves are. Love was also given. The outer thirst was quenched and an inner thirst was awakened. There is a similar incident in Jesus' life. Jesus was going to his village. Returning from the capital, he stopped at a well. He was thirsty. He said to a woman drawing water, "Give me water to drink. I am thirsty." The woman looked at him and said, "Be careful. I am of a low caste. Will you drink water from my hands?" Jesus said, "Who is low? Who is high? You give me to drink, and I will give you to drink." The woman said, "I don't understand what you are saying. What do you mean you give me to drink and I will give you to drink?" Jesus said, "Yes, the water you give quenches thirst for a little while, but the water I will give you quenches thirst forever." Both the Buddha and Jesus awaken a new thirst within you. Then they also show the way to quench that thirst. That new thirst is, how do we know that life which is eternal? How do we become free from this transient world? How do we break free from the prison of time? How do we rise above the trivial and let our wings open in the vast? First, they awaken thirst, because when thirst arises, the journey begins. If there is thirst, the search for water begins. And once the search begins, water has always been present, very close, very near. A lake is already full. You kept missing it because there was no thirst within you. So the Buddha quenched their outer thirst and awakened an inner thirst. And those children forgot all their play and stayed with the Lord the whole day. They were small children, innocent. What was impossible for their parents became possible for these children. They recognized him. The melody of this man's being reached their ears. If someone had asked them what they understood, they might not have been able to answer anything. Their age was not for answering. But deep within, they had understood. They had never seen such a man before. This man was of a different kind. To distinguish such extraordinary men from ordinary humans, we have sometimes called them Buddha, sometimes Jina, sometimes Bhagwan, sometimes Avatar, sometimes Prophet, sometimes Son of God, just to indicate that this man is not like other men. To call him merely a man would not be just. The children could not explain this, but they understood it. Remember, there is no necessary relationship between being able to explain and understanding. Often, those who can explain do not themselves understand, and those who truly understand cannot explain. The mute's sweetness, these small children had tasted it. They probably didn't even have the words to say what had happened within, but they forgot all their play. All those games became too small. Jesus said, "Only those who are like little children will be able to enter the kingdom of my Lord." Perhaps Jesus was talking about such children. To understand God, it is essential to be like a small child. Those who have grown up must return. They must become childlike again. Therefore, in the final state, a saint becomes exactly like a small child. The state of a paramahansa is the same, the state of a small child as if born again. That is why in our country the knower is called Dvija, twice born. One birth he received from his parents, and now he has given birth to himself. He has become a child again. Again that simple, again that natural.